Okay, this is quick overview. I'll give you a rundown of the stuff I've done to it so far. This will be the second video of the upgrade of this Murry Explorer. Now, as you can see on the front, I got an ATV bumper I put on there. I notched the bottom of it out and slid it over that axle tube and used a couple of clamps to clamp it down. And you can see the angle iron pieces that come across that tie that in. Now, I haven't done any welding yet. My welder's over at a buddy's house. It's the MIG welder, and I'm not done here as of yet. But show you the neat things that you could do with stuff like that. As you can see here, where my hand is, I notched this bottom tube. I slid it up over the axle tube here, and I used a clamp right there to hold it in place. And that kind of worked pretty good. This touches the floor right there, which kind of gave it its up side. Now, I took a piece of angle iron and I cut a section out, and I worked on the anvil with this with a hammer to get it to wrap around this. I'd like to put some sort of clamp right there, and still what I like to do is use both clamps, bolts, and welding to really attach it well. And that is really sturdy. The kids really tore this up when they crashed it, and that's what I was wanting, to get something that's really going to be steady, but to be able to take the abuse on that. Now, the steering column, I didn't like the fact that it was all on its standing on its own and wasn't braced. I got a piece of angle iron. This bolt is a steering stop. It's big and heavy, so I bent it and I flopped one piece over and bent it. I have two bolts right here holding it to the floor, and then I bolted this one up. I originally was going to use one, but it turned out to be a little too difficult. And up here I have a pipe clamp. Now, I'm going to weld all these joints to make it all one piece and make it very sturdy. This triangulation is going to make this sturdy, so I don't want this thing falling apart. Kids tear the crap out of stuff. In the other video, I showed you about the brace I did right here. I'm going to put one right here. I just ran out of time. I ran into a big problem trying to figure out what to do with this overhead roll cage. I ended up taking what I was trying to do is bend it right here to lengthen it out, because I wanted it to go to the end, and I ended up, you can see right here how it didn't bend properly. This is where it went from here to here. Anytime there's a bolt hole, it just tends to not do good. So I ended up putting this in a vise and crushing it and drilled a hole where it attaches right here to this back piece. This back piece right here attaches so you could take it off and remove the motor. It makes it easier to remove the motor. And I'm going to leave that like that. I need to reposition this and put this underneath this one, so that way I had the ability to work with that motor easier. When I bolted this section together right here, I put nuts through there so it wouldn't collapse. I use the nylon lock bolts and a lot of stuff. I normally, right here, I don't like to drill through tubing. To me, it makes it weaker, but I did this in the event of a hit. It has something that has a positive stop right here, and it's not going to slide. The clamp is not going to hold that. It's going to slide. And yes, I am still going to weld it. I'm going to put some bracing right here. This has really tied this in well. I fixed the back brakes. I'm going to order a carburetor that I found. I did some research, and these carburetors on here are non-adjustable. I mean, there's a adjustment for the idle, and the problem is this carburetor idles at like 100 miles an hour, and it's hard to control like that. And I found a carburetor that should be adjustable. I think I can get it through Amazon.com, and I'm going to see about giving that a try. If it doesn't work, then I'm going to have to go with a different motor. That's a bad thing that they're coming out with now, is these non-adjustable carburetors, and that's a load of crap because you can't work with them. They're not safe. Underneath here, there's some bars that protect the sprocket and the disc brake, and I'm going to put a brace across here on front and back to tie this all in, make it stronger, and that'll work good. The kid that had this before me, she was rough on it. She tore it up, tried to tear it up. Now you can see at the top where them flat spots are, that's where the tube is originally attached to. Now I'm going to put some bracing on this roll cage. It's really tied in pretty good. I'm surprised. It used to be real rattly and shake a lot. And I got some nice 9/16 bolts and lock nuts right there. Like I say, I'll go through and I'll put some welds here and there, everywhere to tie them in. You can see this brake is nice and tight, and it doesn't flop around like this one does. I beveled this piece right here so it won't cut into your leg. And the seat, I got to get a board, and I got an old seat cushion inside the barn. I'll cut it out to that board size. What I'll do is, and then the holes right there, I'll put the bolts through it and put a nut on this side to lock it in place. And I'll use about I'll use some of that marine grade vinyl and just wrap around it and use staples like this one does. It's pretty easy. I don't like using the pressed board because it normally will tend to absorb water and fall apart. If I can find some good not particle board plywood or something like that, I'll use it. I'm going to try to reuse this seat. There's a zipper on the back. I'll see about getting some more foam and cutting it out. See if I could reuse that. Save me some money. When I'm done, you can see how the rust has started on this. I'll paint this with Rust-Oleum to cut out the rust. I've got there's some sliders that go on here that, well, actually, right here. That's so the seat can slide, and I'm greasing there. I'm lubing them down to try to get them to working again. But something that disturbed me, I seen that the paint was peeling off right here, and that shows me that this tubing was moving. And that gave me the idea to start bracing all this stuff in. These holes were already here, so I just used stuff to tie it in. Now I'll go through and weld all these spots up. And that piece I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave that. I'll put a cross brace right here, and maybe another one down somewhere. But I ain't got too much more to go on this. I'm going to repaint this totally using a Rust-Oleum paint, a Rust-Oleum style of paint. I like Ace Hardware style of paint because they have a lot of pigment and they mix good and they're really nice. I'll probably use I like the safety colors, like the oranges and the yellows. That'll be neat. So got a few more things to do, and then this thing will be good for a long time. The only thing I'll have to worry about is a motor on it. The Comsy's not a bad motor. It's got a really crappy carburetor, and I've gone through carburetors on this thing. Just I can't tell you how many times I have. But that's kind of typical on this. I may do some grinding up there to clean all that up, but then I'll break out the old Rust-Oleum, take it down to the car wash, clean it up, run through the car wash, and just get her looking decent before I put it back out here and slap some Rust-Oleum paint on it. I'd like to kind of do something with this fender thing if I could extend it out a little bit more. That's something to think about, keep crud off you, but I like the fact that it's big enough for adults, and if I get the motor working, I'd love to get it some sort of a electric start motor going. That would be optimum. But anyhow, that's where I'm at for now, second phase of this project. And like I said, this is stuff anybody could do. I know a lot of guys are probably going to look out there and say, well, why don't you use tubing instead of angle iron? Well, I've never done tubing notching and stuff like that. You know, these have to be fish mouthed out and attached properly. And with these angles and stuff, it would be a booger. Yeah, I'm going to have to learn how to do that. Eventually I will. But since I had the angle iron available, and we're really not trying to win a beauty contest, we're just trying to make something last a long time, that'll work for now. But that's where I am right now, and I think that'll do for now. But that's where we're at. So stay tuned, and more to come.